The Mother's Day photo sat there on the mantel like it always had, except this time something was horribly wrong. My face, completely torn out, leaving jagged edges where my smile used to be. My hands trembled as I picked up the silver frame, running my fingers over the rough paper where someone had deliberately ripped away every trace of me. Mom, Dad, my younger brother Trevor, even our old golden retriever Maxine. Everyone else remained perfectly intact, smiling back at me like nothing had happened. My stomach dropped to the floor. This wasn't some accident or the photo falling apart with age. Someone had taken scissors, or maybe just their bare hands, and methodically removed me from our family. The precision of it made my skin crawl. They'd been so careful not to damage anyone else, just erasing me like I'd never existed at all. "Mom!" I called out, my voice cracking slightly. "Dad, can you come here for a minute?" They appeared in the living room doorway, Mom wiping her hands on a dish towel, Dad still holding his evening coffee. The casual normalcy of their expressions made everything feel even more surreal. "What's wrong, Delilah?" Mom asked, though something flickered across her face when she saw what I was holding. I held up the mutilated photo, watching their reactions carefully. "Someone destroyed this. My face is completely gone. Do you know what happened?" The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. Dad cleared his throat and looked away. Mom's eyes darted to the floor, then back to me, then to Dad. Neither of them seemed surprised. Neither of them seemed concerned. "Well?" I pressed, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Aren't you going to say anything?" "It's just an old photo, honey," Mom finally said, her voice unnaturally light. "These things happen sometimes. The glue probably just gave out after all these years." I stared at her in disbelief. "Mom, look at this. Really, look at it. This isn't glue failure. Someone took scissors and carefully cut around my entire face. The edges are clean. Deliberate." Dad shifted uncomfortably, still refusing to meet my eyes. "Maybe we should just get a new family photo taken. It's been, 3 years since that one anyway?" The casual dismissal hit me like a slap. 3 years. That photo was from Trevor's college graduation, one of the last times we'd all been genuinely happy together. Before the argument started. Before I'd begun questioning things I'd never questioned before. "So neither of you knows anything about this?" I pressed, holding the frame higher. It just magically happened by itself? Mom's dish towel twisted tighter in her hands. "Delilah, you're being dramatic. It's just a picture." Just a picture. The phrase echoed in my head as I looked at their faces, closed off, defensive, like I was the problem for even bringing this up. My chest felt tight, that familiar sensation I'd been getting more and more lately when dealing with my family. Like I was drowning in plain sight and nobody cared enough to throw me a rope. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Ramona. "Coffee tomorrow? You sounded stressed yesterday." Thank God for Ramona. At least someone in my life still acted like I mattered. "Fine," I said quietly, setting the photo back on the mantel. "If that's how you want to play this." I turned and walked toward the stairs, feeling their eyes on my back. Halfway up, I heard Mom whisper something to Dad, but I couldn't make out the words. Their hushed conversation felt like another door slamming shut between us. In my childhood bedroom, the one they'd kept exactly the same for 15 years, like a shrine to who I used to be, I sat on the edge of my old twin bed and really looked at that photo again. The hole where my face should be seemed to stare back at me, accusing, like I'd already disappeared and nobody had bothered to tell me. The next morning at Brewster's Cafe, Ramona took one look at my face and immediately ordered me a double-shot espresso. "Okay, spill. You look like you haven't slept in weeks." I pulled out my phone and showed her the photo I'd taken of the vandalized frame. Ramona's jaw dropped as she studied the jagged hole where my face used to be. Holy shit, Delilah. Someone really did a number on this. Who would. She stopped mid-sentence, her expression shifting. Wait, your parents acted like they didn't know anything? Worse, they acted like I was crazy for even caring about it. The words tumbled out of me. Their dismissive attitudes, the whispered conversation, the way they'd looked at me like I was the problem. Ramona, I think they know exactly who did this. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. Honey, I've been your friend for 20 years. I've watched your family treat you like background scenery since we were teenagers. Remember when Trevor got that full ride to Stanford and your parents threw him a party with 200 people? Then when you graduated summa cum laude from nursing school, they took you to Denny's. My stomach clenched. I'd tried so hard to forget that comparison, but Ramona was right. Trevor was the golden child who could do no wrong, while I was the reliable daughter who kept everyone's lives running smoothly. The one who drove Mom to her doctor appointments, who handled Dad's insurance paperwork, who sent birthday cards to relatives they'd forgotten about. There's something else, I said quietly. Last month, when I was helping Mom with her tax documents, I saw paperwork for Dad's will revision. My name wasn't on any of the beneficiary forms, but Trevor's was listed for everything. The house, the business, even Mom's jewelry collection. Ramona's coffee cup hit the table with a sharp clink. They're cutting you out completely. I think they already have. The photo thing, it's like they're erasing me in stages. My voice cracked slightly. 28 years of being the perfect daughter, and I'm disappearing piece by piece. The cafe buzzed with morning conversations around us, but I felt completely isolated in my revelation. Ramona reached across the table and squeezed my hand. What are you going to do? That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I went through Dad's home office with purpose. Not organizing his papers or filing his receipts like I usually did, but looking for answers. My hands shook as I opened the locked drawer where he kept important documents. I'd had the combination for years since I handled most of their paperwork anyway. The revised will was right there, dated 3 months ago. Black ink on white paper, making it official. Delilah Marie Thornfield was nowhere to be found, not even mentioned as a previous beneficiary, like I'd never existed at all. But there was more. Bank statements showing a joint account I'd never known about, with over $600,000. Investment portfolios. Property deeds for rental homes I'd never heard them mention. My family wasn't just comfortable. They were wealthy. And they'd been hiding it from me while I struggled to pay off my nursing school loans, while I picked up extra shifts at the hospital to make rent on my tiny apartment. The office door creaked behind me. I spun around to find Trevor standing there, still in his expensive suit from whatever consulting job he'd landed straight out of college. Find what you're looking for, sis. His tone was casual, but his eyes were cold. You know about all this. It wasn't a question. He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. Of course I know. Mom and Dad have been planning this transition for months. They're getting older, Delilah. They need someone responsible to handle their affairs. Someone responsible. The words came out sharper than I intended. I've been handling their affairs for years. I'm the one who drives Mom to every doctor's appointment, who manages Dad's medications, who still lives like she's 22 years old. Trevor interrupted. Come on, Delilah. You're 35, single, renting a studio apartment, working as a hospital nurse. They need someone with real financial sense, someone stable. The dismissal in his voice hit me like a physical blow. Everything I'd sacrificed for this family, the relationships I'd put on hold, the promotions I'd turned down because they needed me, the life I'd never fully lived because I was too busy being their perfect, reliable daughter. So you tore my face out of the photo? Trevor's expression didn't change. That was Mom's idea, actually. She thought it might be easier if you just gradually understood where things stand. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a stack of papers spread before me like evidence in a court case. Bank statements, medical records, insurance documents, power of attorney forms, everything I'd been handling for my parents for the past 8 years. Everything that proved just how much they'd relied on me while secretly planning to erase me from their lives. My laptop screen glowed as I typed out a detailed letter, my fingers moving faster than they had in years. Every favor I'd done, every sacrifice I'd made, every time I'd put their needs before my own relationships, my career, my happiness. The dates were all there in my calendar. My bank records showing the gas money I'd spent driving across town twice a week, the personal days I'd used to take them to appointments. But more importantly, I documented everything I'd discovered. The hidden assets, the rental properties, the investment accounts they'd never mentioned while watching me struggle financially. The will changes made behind my back. Trevor's casual cruelty about my instability, while I'd been the one keeping their lives running smoothly. By 3 a.m, I had 12 pages of detailed documentation and a decision that felt both terrifying and liberating. I printed everything, slipped it into a manila envelope, and wrote in my neatest handwriting, "Open this when I'm gone." The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 2 years. My supervisor, Janet, barely questioned it. I never called out, never complained, never caused problems, just like with my family. I drove to my parents' house one last time, envelope in hand, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. They were in the kitchen having their usual breakfast routine, Dad reading the paper, Mom fussing over his cholesterol medication that I'd organized in weekly pill containers. "Morning, honey," Mom said without looking up. "Could you grab more orange juice from the garage fridge? We're running low." Even now, even after everything, her first instinct was to give me a task, to make me useful. I set the envelope on the counter between them, my hands surprisingly steady. "I need you both to have this." Dad glanced up from his paper, mildly curious. "What's this about?" "Just promise me you'll open it when I'm gone." My voice sounded calm, controlled, nothing like the chaos I felt inside. Mom frowned at the envelope. "Gone where? Are you taking a vacation? You never mentioned—" "Promise me." Something in my tone made them both look at me more carefully. Really look at me, maybe for the first time in months. "We promise," Dad said finally, though his tone suggested he thought I was being overly dramatic about whatever vacation I'd planned. I kissed both their foreheads, something I hadn't done since I was a child, and walked out their front door for what I knew would be the last time. My hands didn't shake until I got to my car, and then the trembling started so violently I had to sit in their driveway for 5 minutes before I trusted myself to drive. By noon, I was 3 states away, having driven straight through to reach Ramona's sister's cabin in North Carolina. I'd texted Ramona the night before. "Need to disappear for a while. Can I use Lindsay's place?" She'd responded immediately with the address and spare key location, no questions asked. That's the kind of friend everyone deserves, but few people get. The mountain air felt different in my lungs as I carried my single suitcase inside. For the first time in years, nobody needed me to be anywhere, do anything, manage anyone's life but my own. The silence should have been peaceful, but instead it felt like waiting for an explosion I'd lit the fuse on hours ago. My phone started ringing around 2 o'clock. Mom's contact photo, a picture I'd taken of her laughing at Trevor's graduation barbecue, flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. Then Dad called. Then Trevor. Then Mom again. The voicemails started piling up, each one more frantic than the last. "Delilah, honey, we opened your letter. We need to talk. Please call us back." "This is your father. What you've written here. There are misunderstandings. Come home so we can discuss this properly." "Delilah, it's Trevor. Look, maybe we can work something out. Just call me back, okay?" But it was the fourth voicemail that made my chest tighten with something between satisfaction and heartbreak. Mom's voice, shaky and small. "Delilah, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. We didn't understand how much. Please come home. We can fix this. We can make this right." Too late, I thought, watching the sun set over mountains I'd never seen before. For the first time in my adult life, I was exactly where I wanted to be, doing exactly what I chose to do. The loneliness felt different here. Clean, somehow. Honest. My phone buzzed with a text from Ramona. "Whatever you did, your mom just called me crying. She's asking everyone in your contact list if they know where you are. Want to talk?" I called Ramona back that evening, my voice steadier than it had been in months. "What exactly did my mother say to you?" "Oh, honey, she was a mess. Kept saying they'd made a terrible mistake, that they never meant for things to go this far. She wanted to know if you'd told me you were suicidal or having a breakdown." Ramona paused. "Delilah, what was in that letter?" I told her everything. Every documented detail, every hidden bank account, every medical appointment I'd driven them to while they secretly planned my erasure. When I finished, Ramona was quiet for a long moment. "Jesus Christ, Delilah. No wonder your mom's losing her mind. Do you realize what you just did?" "What do you mean?" "You just showed them exactly what they're about to lose forever. Not just you, but everything you've been doing for them. Who's going to manage your dad's medications now? Who's going to drive your mom to her cardiologist appointments? Who's going to handle their insurance claims and organize their tax documents?" The reality of it hit me like a cold wave. For 8 years, I'd been their unpaid personal assistant, medical advocate, and financial manager. I'd been so focused on the emotional betrayal that I hadn't fully considered the practical devastation my absence would create. My phone rang again. This time, it was Dr. Patricia Hensley, Mom's cardiologist. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Delilah? Thank goodness. Your mother called my office in tears, saying she couldn't remember her medication schedule and didn't know how to reach the insurance company about her upcoming procedure. She seemed very confused and distressed. Is everything all right?" "I'm no longer available to help with her care, Dr. Hensley. You'll need to speak with her son Trevor about future arrangements." The silence on the other end stretched uncomfortably. "I see. Well, if this is a family dispute, I hope you can work things out. Your mother has come to rely on you quite heavily for her medical management." After I hung up, 3 more calls came in. Dad's primary care physician, their insurance agent, and somehow even Mrs. Rodriguez from the pharmacy where I picked up their prescriptions monthly. Word was spreading through their network of service providers that their reliable contact person had vanished. The thought should have made me feel guilty. Instead, I felt something I'd almost forgotten existed: my own power. For the first time, they were experiencing what life looked like without me in it. Not the fantasy version where Trevor smoothly took over everything, but the messy reality where nobody else knew the intricate details of keeping their lives running. By the 3rd day, the calls had evolved from frantic to desperate to something approaching panic. Trevor left a voicemail that made me actually laugh out loud. "Delilah, I tried to refill Dad's prescriptions, but the pharmacy says they need prior authorization, and I don't understand what that means. Also, Mom's having chest pains, but she can't remember which cardiologist she sees. Can you please just call me back?" The golden boy who dismissed me as financially irresponsible couldn't figure out basic medical logistics. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But it was Ramona's call on Thursday that really got my attention. "Delilah, I need to tell you something. Your parents showed up at my house this morning." My blood went cold. "What?" "They looked terrible. Your mom's lost weight. Your dad looks like he hasn't slept. They begged me to tell them where you are. Your mom kept saying, 'We need our daughter back,' over and over. It was honestly heartbreaking." "What did you tell them?" "That you're safe. but that's all I know. Which is true. I don't know exactly where you are." Ramona paused. "But Delilah, there's something else. Your mom collapsed while they were here. Just fell right there on my front porch. I had to call an ambulance." My chest tightened. "Is she okay?" "She's at St. Mary's Hospital. The doctors think it was a panic attack combined with exhaustion, but they're running tests. Your dad's been there since yesterday, and he looks lost. He kept asking the nurses questions about insurance and procedures, but he doesn't know any of the details you always handled." The familiar guilt started creeping in, that old programming that said I was responsible for everyone else's well-being. But then I remembered the photo with my face torn out, Trevor's casual cruelty, the will that erased me completely. "They did this to themselves," I said quietly. "I know. But Delilah, whatever they did to you, your mom is genuinely falling apart. She told me she realizes now that you weren't just their daughter. You were the person holding their entire world together. She said she never understood how much you sacrificed until you were gone." That night, I sat on the cabin's porch and watched stars I'd never seen through the city's light pollution. My phone had 17 missed calls, but for the first time since I'd left, I didn't feel the compulsive need to answer them. Let them experience what I'd lived with for years. The constant anxiety of not knowing if someone you love is okay. On Friday morning, exactly 1 week after I'd handed them that envelope, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, a woman's voice said, "Is this Delilah Thornfield? This is Patricia Chen from the Elder Care Advocacy Office. Your brother Trevor hired us to help manage your parents' medical needs, but we're having trouble accessing their records. He doesn't seem to have the necessary documentation or know their medical history." Even Trevor was admitting defeat, hiring strangers to do what I'd been doing out of love and duty for years. The irony was almost too perfect. "I'm no longer involved in their care," I told her. "You'll need to work with Trevor directly." "I understand. But Miss Thornfield, your parents are asking for you specifically. Your mother became quite agitated yesterday when she learned we'd been hired. She kept saying, 'I just want my daughter back.' The hospital staff mentioned she's been refusing some treatments because she doesn't trust anyone else to understand her needs." That afternoon, Ramona called with news that changed everything. "Delilah, your dad had a heart attack this morning." The world tilted sideways. "What? Is he—" "He's stable, but it was serious. They had to do emergency surgery. Trevor called me because he didn't know what else to do. He said your dad kept asking for you even while they were prepping him for the operating room." I found myself standing in the middle of the cabin, my hands shaking for the first time since I'd left. "Where is he?" "St. Mary's, same as your mom. She's been at his bedside, but Delilah, she looks like a ghost. The nurses say she won't eat, won't sleep. She just keeps saying she failed you, and now she's losing everything that matters." That evening, I made the longest drive of my life. 4 hours back to a city I'd thought I'd left forever, my mind cycling between fury and heartbreak. They'd driven themselves into this crisis through their own cruelty, but watching them suffer didn't feel like victory. It felt like watching a house burn down with people still inside. The hospital lobby smelled like disinfectant and desperation. I found them in the cardiac intensive care unit, Mom curled up in a chair beside Dad's bed, looking smaller and more fragile than I'd ever seen her. Dad was awake but pale, wires and monitors tracking every heartbeat. When Mom looked up and saw me, she let out a sound I'd never heard before, half sob, half prayer. "Delilah. Oh, God, Delilah, you came back." "I'm here to see Dad," I said quietly. "That's all." But even as I said it, seeing them both so broken, so lost without the daughter they'd tried to erase, I felt something shifting inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the beginning of understanding what came next. Dad's eyes found mine across the room, and I saw something I'd never seen before, genuine fear, not about his heart attack, but about losing me forever. "Delilah," he whispered. his voice hoarse from the breathing tube they'd removed that morning. "I'm so sorry. We were so wrong." Mom stood up shakily, tears streaming down her face. "We found the photo pieces in Trevor's room. I thought if we gradually showed you that Trevor was taking over, you'd understand it was time to step back. But we never meant to hurt you. We never realized." "You never realized what?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "That we were erasing our own daughter," Dad said, struggling to sit up slightly. "That we were throwing away the most precious thing in our lives because we got scared about getting older and wanted to make sure Trevor was involved." Mom reached into her purse with trembling hands and pulled out a manila envelope, thicker than the one I'd left them. "We had our lawyer rewrite everything, the will, the accounts, the properties. It's all split equally now. But more than that." She paused, wiping her eyes. "We wrote you a letter, too, documenting every single thing you've done for us, every sacrifice we now realize you made. We want everyone to know what kind of daughter we almost lost." I took the envelope, but didn't open it. "And Trevor?" "Trevor's learning what it really means to take care of people instead of just managing money," Dad said. "He lasted 3 days trying to handle our medical needs before he broke down crying in our kitchen. He understands now why we've always relied on you." The next morning, I sat in my old bedroom, the shrine they'd kept to who I used to be, and made my decision. Not the decision they wanted, and not the decision my old self would have made. I would help them through Dad's recovery. I would make sure they had proper care systems in place, but I wouldn't be returning to my old role as their unpaid everything. The will changes were a start, but respect couldn't be inherited. It had to be earned back, piece by piece. 6 months later, I was living in my own house, bought with my inheritance advance, 2 towns over, close enough to help when truly needed, far enough to have my own life. Mom and Dad had learned to manage their basic needs, with professional help for the complex stuff. Trevor had learned humility, and more importantly, had learned my name wasn't synonymous with free labor. The family photo on my new mantle showed all of us at Dad's recovery celebration dinner. In this one, my face was exactly where it belonged. Now tell me, what would you do if you were in my place? Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and comment where you're watching from.